what I want is for more women to feel empowered, to live life on their terms, to, have the beautiful relationships that they want, to have the impact-driven career or business that they want on their terms.
You're listening to the Audacious as Fuck podcast, where we're not just talking about business, we're talking about life. Hola, I'm your host, Marta Ramos, a Dominican-American lifestyle entrepreneur who had the audacity to go from corporate to Chief Empowered Officer of my life and business. And this show is all dedicated to reimagining what more is possible for you so that you can start creating your own path to success. So if you have the audacity to step into your power, your purpose, and really own your CEO vibe, then you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of the Audacious as Fuck podcast. I am your host, Marta Ramos. And today we are going to switch things up because I actually have my co-host, Cara Sherice, who is going to be joining us on this episode. And guess what, guys? She is going to put me on the hot seat. So before I introduce her, let me just say that today's episode is one that we want to dedicate to you, woman of impact on a mission, who feels like she wants to redefine what her next chapter looks like. So this topic is all about how can we redefine what our next chapter looks like? I know there's a lot of, things going on in the world that may have us rethinking and reshifting how we want to live and how we want to work moving forward. So with that, I want to say, Cara Sherice is the CEO and founder of Pretty Passionate. She is an elevation strategist, a marketer, a total powerhouse, and dare I say, a total badass too. So, Cara, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mama. I am so excited to be here. And shout out to all you ladies listening in. This is going to be a great episode because I know you ladies are used to hearing Martha ask the question. But I am so excited and so honored that she trusts me to be the one to put her in the hot seat. All right. So let's get on into it.
Let's get it.
So let's do it. So listen, here's the thing. I'm so excited about this topic because, a lot of the work that I do and a lot of the research that I've seen over the last couple of months shows that women are in need of this information. How do we reimagine our next chapter? The reality is that over 4 million women left the workforce during coronavirus and 11 million jobs helped women disappear. Now, that was back in 2020. I can only imagine where we are today. And because of that, though, there's been a huge shift collectively. And people are at a place where they're trying to figure out what is next, right? Because we're at a place where we're like, I want more time. I want more freedom. And I want more purpose.
Yeah.
So now is the time to reimagine what that looks like. And I think you've just done a great job at being to help a lot of your clients and the women on this platform to uncover what that looks like. And so, I know a lot of your brand is around women who want to be the CEO of their life, right? I know you say that and you say it real fierce. All right. And so where did you come up with that phrase, be the CEO of your life?
It's so interesting. So, working in corporate, I used to be in a lot of meetings with, CEOs and VPs and all of that. And one of the things that I admire was, how they took ownership about whatever the meeting was about. So whether it was doing a marketing campaign for our clients or trying to figure out what the vision for the company was, just certain things. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we can be the leaders of our own life and really operate it from a standpoint where we're like the captain of our own ship or the authority, the leader, again, of not just in our careers, but in our relationships, in our health, in our, mindset, etc. And I remember one day I was sitting in my office and I was like dabbling on a piece of paper, and I just wrote the CEO of my life. And I'm like, why can more women be chief executive officers of their life and not just their career? And then throughout the years, that kind of evolved into the chief empowered officer of your life. Because really what I want is for more women to feel empowered to live life on their terms, to, have the beautiful relationships that they want, to have the impact driven career or business that they want on their terms.
I love that. Wow. So beautiful, man. I think, the moment that I decided to step up and be the CEO of my life was the moment that things dramatically changed for me. So there's so much power in this work and what you're doing. And us, like you said, really, I think it just boils down to just getting really clear on what that vision is for those areas of our lives. So that's really, really good. And so I know you just took us through what that means to be the CEO of your life, but I'm curious to know, what did that moment look like for you, that pivotal moment when you took the reins back and became the CEO of your life, when you really uncovered like who Martha is at the core?
Such a good question. And I have so many, but I think I'm going to pinpoint it to when I was 17 years old. And I was going through a huge life transition, and I decided to become emancipated from my parents, right? So I decided to really take ownership of what I wanted my future to look like. And, I've shared this before, that at that time, my parents were going through a really hard time, and they had decided to move our family back to Dominican Republic, which is where I'm from. And I decided to stay here because I'm like, wait, if I go back to DR, go to college over there, and then try to come back into the States to have a career, my degree wasn't going to be as valuable. Like I would have to go through, going to college all over again. So that's when I decided that if I wanted to cultivate that vision that I had for myself and really take ownership, right? Like own my vision, I needed to become emancipated. And that's when I knew that, wow, like who does that? Like even my friends back in high school was like, who does that? Who decides to like become an adult and all of a sudden, have to pay rent and food on the table? And then school became my fourth option, like my fourth priority, I should say, because I had to be doing the adulting. And I feel like that's when I knew that I had that power, that courage, that resilience in me to make it happen.
Wow. And I think that's so powerful because there's so much evidence, with understanding our past and the things that we've experienced, the people that we've had in our lives that make us who we are today in this moment, but that also help us with the vision of the next chapter that we may want to reimagine. Right. And I know together, you and I, we did a little work together earlier this year to really uncover what are all those points in your past and what was that pattern that you can take and now help other women have a breakthrough in their life as they move forward. And so I would just love to know, with uncovering, all the things that you've experienced in your past, especially that pivotal moment when you've uncovered courage, resilience, and just honestly being a leader, like that you was actually being the CEO of your life before you even knew what the CEO of your life meant.
Right? It was like a whole 180 when I realized then, when I made the connection, especially going through your work, was like, wow, I was already being the CEO of my life way back when, before I even thought of it, which is why it's at the core of my message and my mission.
Yeah. And like you said, the core of who you are. I know a lot of the work that you do in your business is helping people uncover the core of who they are and how it fits into their vision. So I would love to know, with uncovering the core of who you are, that courage and that resilience and all that stuff, how does that work with or fit into the work that you do now?
So I coined not just how to be the CEO of your life, but I really came up with this signature framework called the CEO method, where it's all about cultivating your vision, elevating your belief, and owning your CEO vibe. And really at the core of it is the blend of inner work, soul. So knowing who you are at the core, it's like knowing your strengths, your skills, your values, your personal mission, and kind of putting all of that together.
So here, let's get down to the juicy, to the nitty gritty, right? Because while this is all great, right? I know it wasn't that easy. I know it wasn't, and you've shared with us that it wasn't easy, right? You had to have courage, you had to have resilience. So we know that that's not easy. But just how freely we can, or you can talk about that now, and it makes it seem like, okay, this is what you have to do. But I know that there was just a ton of fear that you probably had to deal with in order to be able to do a lot of that stuff. And one of the biggest pieces that I want to talk about today that we didn't have a chance to talk about as of yet was your transition from corporate America into entrepreneurship, because I'm sure with all of the fear that you've experienced in your life and the resilience and overcoming that and being able to pivot time and time again, I'm sure that takes the cake as being one of the top moments in addition with that other pivotal moment. So tell us a little bit about that transition.
Well, for people who have been following my story, know that I was kind of thrown into it because I was actually let go from my last corporate position. And that's when I decided, wow, and I can't believe it's been almost 6 years. Anyway.
Wow. Let's take a second and actually celebrate that, okay? Because no matter what the journey has looked like from that moment to now, you've done it, you're doing it, and we are here having this conversation. And it's not something that everyone could say they had the courage, the guts to step up and do it. And no matter what it's looked like, right? Because you're still doing it. Right? And one of the things I love to share with my students, my members, and like my clients is that, you know, if you can't fly, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, if you can't fly, then you run. If you can't run, then you walk. If you can't walk, then you crawl. But whatever you do, you keep going. So I want to take a moment to give you your flowers for keeping going. Okay? Let's take a moment.
Let me you know, Cara, that we have offline conversations and it hasn't been easy. I've definitely done the ugly cry in the bathroom, or, cursing up a storm because I can't seem to find my groove. But at the end of the day, I keep coming back to that vision that I have, that calling, that thing inside of me that says you are meant for so much more. You are meant to share your message. You are meant to share your voice, right? And I feel like a lot of women who might be experiencing that calling, that mission inside of them, don't realize that what they're being called to do is to step into their power, their purpose by leading. It's a new way to lead in this era of what we call the digital economy or the influencer economy, however they choose to define it, is that we are being called to step up as leaders, not just in our lives, but how we operate.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh man, that resonates with me so well. And I know you guys out in the listener universe, I know it's resonating with you as well. All right. So let's get back on track. Your transition from corporate to entrepreneurship. And so, here you are at this place. And like you've shared so many times, like we just shared, you was kind of forced out and into this position, right? To now have to do something about it. Well, what did that look like?
So at first, it was very painful, if I may say so myself. Like I spent the entire weekend crying after I was let go. But then something shifted in me that Monday where it was like, but wait a minute, you've been through worse before. Like, again, you became an adult at the age of 17. Like that was I think the hardest thing I've had to face at such a young age. So the fact that I was 40 already, I'm like, you got this, girl. So then it helped me to kind of shift my thinking in terms of, okay, what do I do now? But more importantly, what do I want to do? So I already did the coulda, shoulda, woulda of I went to college, I got my degree, I landed my dream jobs. But what does Martha want to do now. So I actually went on a whole self-discovery journey because what I realized during that transition was that I had lost sight of who I was at the core and what I wanted and what my values were and where my strengths lie, my gift. So then I had to kind of figure out, what do I do with all of that? How do I package it into what people are now calling, the influencer economy or digital or having an online business? So it had to do with me digging deep in terms of really reconnecting with who I was and what I wanted, what those desires are or were for me then.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And then, so that was, amongst other moments, that was a huge moment where you had to reimagine what this next phase of your life could look like for you. But I think the biggest thing, or two of the other things, is overcoming that fear and then sticking with it, right? I think for so many people outside of, we know one of the big things is vision, right? Having that vision. And so in addition to the vision, it's overcoming the fear, it's sticking with it. But what helped you to, outside of connecting to the core you, what helped you to also flush out that vision? Because I know that's another big thing where it's like we're like, we want to go here, we want to do this, but how do you really flush out that vision so that you can take that next step?
So really what I want people to take away is that your vision can evolve, right? So it's not a matter of flushing it out. It's a matter of being flexible with your vision. Because a lot of times God, higher power, the universe is going to intervene and you might have to adapt or shift what that original vision looked like for you in your next chapter. So it's what I really want people to take away is the flexibility or adaptability of your vision, because one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of people are afraid to take the leap because of change. They fear change.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want people to know is that change is constant. Like our world is constantly changing and evolving. So you as a person have to do the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So true, man. So true. Because if not, that fear will keep you stuck. and
And let me tell you, fear, like I tell people, fear is always going to be there. I am still fearful. And fear is a good thing because at least that's how I choose to see it. Because fear helps me, first of all, it keeps me safe from wanting to jump off a roof or going into incoming traffic, right? But fear also teaches you things. If you decide to shift your mindset into one of a growth mindset, or what I like to say, AKA the CEO mindset, is that fear helps you grow into the person that you are meant to become.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the things too. And I love to say, just help people reframe fear to be that, right? Like fear is not a bad thing. It's an indicator. And it's something that we can use to empower us and fuel us versus keeping us stuck. And it's actually, a strategy to do that. And so I love that. I love what you just said about fear and using that to our ability.
And I just wanted to add that it's also, doing the damn thing anyway. Like, even if you're afraid to do that, it's just doing it anyway. It's finding that courage within you to do it anyway, because fear is always going to be there.
Yeah, it is. It is always going to be there. And I think too, it's so funny though, when I hear that saying, feel the fear and do it anyway, I remember being younger, before I was an entrepreneur myself, and because like we know, being an entrepreneur, like leaving your 9-to-5 job and that comfort zone, it takes a ton of courage. And it's almost like if you're able to do that, then a lot of things aren't as fearful anymore. You start to build that fear muscle. But I remember prior to that for myself, when I would hear things like feel the fear anyway, I used to be like, but what does that mean? Like, how do I do that? Right? Because it's so easy to say, feel the fear and do it anyway. Okay, but how do I feel the fear and do it anyway? right? When my fear might be making a fool of myself. And so if I decide, it almost, for me, when I was at that age, it almost like feel the fear and do it anyway, almost sound like impulse and no plan and closing your eyes and saying, YOLO, that's what it would sound like to me. So when I talk to like a lot of my clients and my students and people in general, when I say feel the fear and do it anyway, I think it's also helping them to understand that it's not a close your eyes and YOLO moment. No. You know, it's not an impulsive moment. So that feel the fear and do it anyway, it's not what that means. There is a way to feel the fear and do it anyway and have the right strategy, have the right tools to do it so that no matter the outcome, it pulled you to power versus keeping you stuck.
One of the things, which is why I love having a vision for your future, for your life, because my vision is my North Star, right? So my vision is what propels me to keep going despite the fear. So when people are really clear on the vision that they have for themselves, how they want to live, the work that they want to put out into the world, if they are emotionally attached to that vision, and they know that they are here to make a difference, to make an impact with their voice, their message, they're going to do it anyway, despite the fear, because that thing inside of them is propelling them to do it anyway.
Yeah. And I think to even add to that, for anyone on the, out in the listener universe who's like, fear the fear, do it anyway. Like I said, it's not an impulsive decision. It's not just close your eyes and get it done. It's that vision that Martha said, like knowing where you want to go, but then also that strategy.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, you can have that vision, and then if you don't know where it's going or how to get there, it can still be an impulsive moment. But when you have that vision, you have that strategy, it takes away some of the fear. Now, you're still going to have fear, but at least you know if you have a strategy, you know about where you're going to land, right? So it's not impulsive. You're like, okay, these are, and all the strategy is just steps to get there, right? Like if I take this step, then if I take step A, it's going to take me to B, it's going to take me to C. All the time you got to stay flexible. Sometimes it might take you to A and a half, but at least you kind of know where you're going to land. Yes. And it doesn't make that fall, if you will, or that landing so harsh. So I love this saying, feel the fear and do it anyway, because it's absolutely true. But I also love to clear it up that it's not an impulsive, close your eyes, YOLO moment decision.
Absolutely not. And another thing to add to what you were saying is that you don't need to see like the entire staircase, like the entire how-to plan does not need to be laid out. You just have to take it one step at a time.
Yep.
And before you know it, it is going to start unfolding in terms of what those next steps should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. So what was that moment for you though? Because I know for me, hearing this and saying unfolding, like it's so foreign unless you live it, right? Yeah. Or unless you start to see it. So take us through what that unfolding looked like for you, right? When you realize, okay, I'm taking a step and I'm fearful, but hold on. I took okay, B is starting to look a little clearer. Oh, wait, okay, so here's C. What was that moment for you in that unfolding to where you are now? I know you said it's been 6 years on this journey.
Well, when I first started, I was just talking about, being a coach and helping people. Never in a million years did I dream of having a podcast. But somehow that came to me years later. Like I just kicked off my podcast. I think I'm about to have 2 years this coming February. So again, going back to the very beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, I never imagined, right, having a podcast. I never imagined being interviewed by major media platforms. Like for me, it just started with coaching. But then all of a sudden, it started unfolding. My vision started getting bigger, right? And I started reimagining what other possibilities I can add to my brand, to my company. So little by little, I say, I'm a big believer in a higher power, in God. I feel like when you're on the right path, little by little, he or she, whatever you choose to believe in, starts showing you what the next steps, how it's going to continue to unfold to help you get to that, big vision that you see for yourself.
I love that. Wow, that's really beautiful. That's really beautiful. I don't think too many people talk about the unfolding, right? We talk about, we say it in so many words, faith, have trust, but what does that unfolding actually look like? So I loved how you were able to articulate that. And so what are some key pillars for anyone listening who want to focus, or I should say key pillars that we should focus on to embody our own CEO power? I know you shared a lot. So if you want to just kind of sum that up for us.
So the pillars that I use to take my clients through is, again, the CEO framework, cultivating your vision, elevating your belief, and then owning your vibe. And that really just means taking action. It means stepping into your power. It means having a action plan or strategy of how you want to bring that vision or that big idea to life. So, and again, I think the one that we tend to shy away from the most is elevating our belief, because we can have the vision, we can have the strategy, but if we don't believe in ourselves, if we don't believe that we can make it happen, we're never going to see it come to life. And that's the elements in my plan that a lot of clients don't like to face, right? Like, let's face the bullshit. I love taking my clients from that disempowering state of mind of, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I don't think I have what it takes to do this, to, yes, God damn it, I have what it takes. Yes, I am smart enough. Yes, I can do this. Let's make it happen. But that takes work, because a lot of times, we have these beliefs in our mind that have been placed there unconsciously, right? Like, most of our belief system has been formed, and there's scientific proof that they're formed in our early childhood. So if, let's say, just a quick example, if someone in your early childhood said, you are not smart enough, don't even bother, don't even try, that seeps into your unconscious mind, and it stays there until you're able to work through that and really find the evidence to shift and support it otherwise. So in other words, saying, I am smart enough, here's why. Yes. I have the evidence to prove it.
Yeah, no, that's huge. That's a big one. And that's why I'm so just intentional about speaking life into my nephews, into my godchildren. My nephews are 4 and 5. And even it's so funny, I was on FaceTime with my nephews last night, and he had drew a picture, and it's like some little stick figures. He's 4. And I was like, now draw me another picture. Draw me an airplane. He was like, I can't draw an airplane. And I was like, yes, you can. I was like, just try. I was like, listen, practice makes perfect. I said, you can do it. Just try and do it. Practice. And then he's like, okay. And he started to draw. And I thought it was just so beautiful, because I could have easily been like, yeah, that might be too advanced for him, or make it fed into him feeling he can't. But to your point about just being able to speak life, you never know what that can do for a child to say, if I just practice, then I'll get this. Or you are beautiful, or you are courageous. That translates into the thing. I'm too afraid to do it. No, you can do it. Mm-hmm. Just try, So, wow, it's really, really huge.
I love that, because you were planting the seed of encouragement in him. So when he gets older, he's always going to remember Auntie Cara said, just try, just practice. So I love that. Oh my God, it gave me chills.
So let's have a little fun, okay?
Yes.
We're going to have a little fun with Miss Martha here, because we're always we're talking about purpose, we're talking about business, we're talking about big fancy words like strategy and all of this stuff. But let's have a little fun, all right? So tell me, Miss DR native, okay, what's your favorite thing to do when you travel back to DR? Let us know.
Ooh. The food that we get to pick from our backyard.
Ooh.
Like eating the food, like whether it's a mango and I was just there recently, like the avocado tree that we have, those were the best avocado I've eaten in my entire life. And I'm like, I wish I can bring a suitcase back with me. So it's definitely eating the food because there's no pesticides or anything added to it. It's just natural. And oh my God, can you see it? People like, delicious. That is one of my favorite things besides, of course, connecting with family and friends.
I love that. So that's on the list. Next time you go to DR, you got to bring me back some avocado. Okay. Got it.
Come join me.
That's it. Let's set it up. All right. One more fun question here. What was the last thing you watched on Netflix? Or if you're not a Netflix gal, maybe Hulu or Prime.
Listen, I was caught up with the show Wednesday, like from the Addams Family. And it has a Latina, which I love because the Latina, she's the lead actress. And I was like so sucked into this world. And I'm like, my God, I grew up watching the Addams Family back in the days. But what they did with that show now, I'm like, yes and yes. I'm like, okay, when is the next season coming out?
I actually saw previews for that. And so I might have to tune into that this weekend and check it out.
Yes, do so.
All right. And so our last question, Miss Martha, what does it mean to you, okay, to be the CEO of your life?
You know what's so interesting, Cara, that when I thought about that question to ask my guests on the show, never in a million years that I think that people would have so many different iterations of what it means to be the CEO of their life or their business. And to me, I find it to be so beautiful that people can find a little bit of themselves when they answer that question. So for me, really being the CEO of my life is really feeling empowered to live life on my terms and to do business on my terms and to have relationships on my terms and definitely not to follow the rules that society or culturally I've been taught.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I subscribe to that all day. I love that.
Because as a Latina woman, and not to go on a tangent here, I was thinking about this question the other day because I'm like, we're taught, if you're a Latina woman, that you need to be perfect, right? You need to have your house clean all the time, and you need to cook and make sure that there's hot food on the table for when your man gets home. And I'm like, no, if we're both working, we can both bring something into the relationship where we're both operating at 100% each. So if we're both working, guess what? You need to learn how to cook. You need to learn how to take care of yourself. Like you need to learn how to do the laundry. You need to learn how to keep this apartment clean because if something was to happen to me, what's going to happen then? Like you're not going to eat?
Yeah.
Right. So I needed to make sure that in my relationship, my vision for my relationship was having a man who can keep up with the household chores and everything on his own. Because if something was to happen to me, if I was to be sick or if I was to be a mom, like I didn't want to have that pressure of making sure the house is clean and cooking and laundry plus X, Y, and Z. So when I say being the CEO of your life and being able to live life on your terms is making sure that that applies to different areas of your life, whether relationship, career, love life, etc. It's just being empowered to set your own rules, right?
Yeah. And I think it's so timely that you say that because that is the whole purpose of this episode is that now, if you haven't done that up until this point, you have the opportunity to reimagine what that could look like. To step up and be the CEO of your life. You can reimagine your love life. You can reimagine your relationship. You can reimagine your business, your career, and all the things under the sun. And so I am so excited about this conversation that we had the opportunity to talk. I hope I did you some justice with holding the mic, okay, and asking you the question. I know I can't fill these big shoes over here on this podcast, but thank you for trusting me to be able to take us there.
Stop it, love. You know you got this. I love you, and I am so honored that you decided to come on the show and really fill in for me as the host. You did a fantastic job. And for those of you that don't follow Cara, make sure you check her out on Instagram. I'll make sure to add her links to our show notes and everything. And Cara also has her own podcast. So sis, what's up? When are we going to start getting new episodes? Because you be bringing the fire too.
Listen, we are ramping up for season 2 to happen in 2023. So stay tuned, ladies. Until then, you can check me out on freepassionate.com and Cara Sherice on Instagram. And let's do it.
Love it. Guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode. If you guys found this episode to be of value, please make sure you either give us a shout on Instagram, tag me @RamosOfficial, or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And until then, I want to say thank you for listening. I love you guys, and I will see you guys on our next episode.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes and share the love with a friend or two. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, friend, so you don't miss an episode. And with that, until next time,